What's the most disturbing secret you discovered about your parents? When I was 10 years old, my mom died due to diabetes-related health issues. Since then, it has just been my dad and me. He raised me as a single father, and I always saw him as an amazing parent. He taught me so many important life lessons and values. We bonded over our shared loss and grew very close during those years. It was just the two of us. Even though being a solo parent was incredibly challenging for him, he persevered and did his best to give me a loving, stable home. Though I now live abroad in Europe, I always look forward to my annual summer trip back home to the States to visit my dad. But this time, what should have been a pleasant reunion was ruined before I even unpacked my bags. When trying to plan my annual summer trip home this year, my dad gave me various excuses for why I couldn't visit. This struck me as odd since he usually looks forward to my visits. After some back and forth, he reluctantly agreed to let me come. When I got home, I immediately sensed something was off. My dad seemed on edge and distant. The house was completely changed and they had painted over the bathroom, which was the last thing that me and Mom had painted together before she had gotten sick. When I got into my childhood bedroom, I also noticed that almost all of the belongings that I had left had disappeared. I was upset, but I decided that it would be best to cry alone, work through my emotions, and speak to him later. To be fair, I was a mix of livid and heartbroken. That bathroom was where my mom taught me how to paint fish and coral. I was sobbing for a long time on my own, as I knew change was inevitable and it would happen eventually. My only thought was that he could have at least warned me. Also, there was the issue of my burlesque and cosplay costumes. I had left them at my dad's house because when I had originally moved, I could only take one bag and the essentials. I was slowly moving them back with me whenever I came to visit. The container in which they were all stored was filled with my cousin's clothes, and any remnants of them were lost, minus 3 corsets. When I talked to him about it later that night, he told me, "If you want, I'll take you back to the airport now." Yes, that is exactly what I wanted to hear, instead of an apology or just recognizing my feelings. This sent me into a spiral. I debated on tearing up everything that I had left in the house, but I held in the anger and the sadness. About 2 days later, we had a full-on fight while I was asking where he had put something. Dad bucked up to me, but I held my ground, not in the most graceful manner, as I was also sobbing and yelling back at him. He told me that this isn't my house anymore and that I don't make any decisions as to what he decides to do to it. He also said that he didn't want me home because every time I come home, all I do is bitch about things. Mind you, I was genuinely trying to be nice and just find something that had gone missing, but my dad has a horrible temper. We ended up working it out, but that has stayed with me ever since. Still, during this time, he would disappear to my cousin's house and I wasn't allowed to come with him. He, being someone who is technologically impaired, asked me to help him access his bank account. While doing so, I accidentally ran across multiple friends with benefit site accounts, 5 profiles on Adult Friend Finder, 1 on F*** Your Neighbor, and many more. Yes, I know these are scams and he's only talking to bots. So with me out of the house for the past 12 years and Mom passing away, I understand he gets lonely. I again overlooked everything. In my mind, if he was going to do this stuff, the least I could do was install extra protection on his computer to keep it safe from viruses. There was a thought that kept nagging me about him and my cousin. Up until this point, I had my suspicions but was not willing to act upon them. As I was writing in my diary, the thought continued to nag me, so I logged onto his Facebook page. And that's when I found the messages between him and my cousin. He kept telling her when I would be out of the house. He spoke about doing substances with her, but then I finally came to the message, "With her gone, we can finally do the deed." Then it all clicked. My dad had been sleeping with my cousin and was giving her my inheritance. He's also been allowing her to steal all my clothes, including my burlesque costumes. I am afraid to admit that they probably got intimate in the bed I'm now sitting in, with my baby photo facing them.